Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is December 31st, 1983. The eve of 1984 itself. Yes, I made sure to read the novel 1984 by George Orwell when it was still 1983 so that I would be prepared for what was to come. Yes. I already lived in a dank, miserable little two-room apartment, like rather like Winston's apartment in the novel. Thank heavens there weren't cameras in there. I know. It's the busy night at Vino Veritas. Vino Veritas, by the way, the name of the store comes from a quote in Vino Veritas by Pliny, Pliny the Elder, who died at Vesuvius. He died with the eruption of Vesuvius. He choked to death on the caustic gases. He got a little bit too close there, buddy. Pliny, you shouldn't have gone so close. And so in vino veritas means in wine there is truth, which basically means, the more you drink, the more likely you are to blurt out what you think the truth is. Or the drunker you are, the more likely you are to spill the beans, yes. Anyhow, it's a Saturday night, the last night of the year, and when I go into the store, Putting on the Ritz by Taco is playing, yes, over the radio. I always thought that song sounded a little bit hallucinogenic, that particular cover, I know. But it's a busy night, and there's already a handful of deliveries already lined up for me to go, waiting for me when I get in there. So I take the first order, I get my change and the address, and off I go down to 79th Street. And then I come back to the store and I get my next order and I get the bottles and I get the change and I get the address and I go on up to 87th Street. And I go over, and there's many different new customers all night long up here on 87th Street, up here on 85th Street, over there on Second Avenue. We're just loaded with fresh faces tonight. But we do have, thank heavens, we got some old favorites, and I went to see Mr. Zappa right around the corner on 83rd and 3rd. He lives up on the 17th floor, and I go up there, and his nephew answers the door. And he's like, I'm like, Vino Veritas. And he's like, now the party can start. I said, well, here you go. Zappa usually orders a bottle of Old Overcoat, a half-gallon bottle, and and this time he ordered a bottle of Gold Bacardi Gold, a liter of that, right? I think that was for the other fellow, for his nephew. He says, yeah, me and my uncle are going to watch the fights tonight. I said, oh, okay, well, I hope your man wins. And he gave me the money, and I went to give him the change. He said, keep the change. Happy New Year. And that was lovely. Then I go back to the shop, and when I'm going back to the shop, as I'm just rounding the corner, I see Red Cap. You remember him. He was an unwieldy alcoholic dressed like a shabby longshoreman with a red watch cap on his head. Yes. And he was staggering up to the door when I rounded the corner. So I hung back a little bit and waited till he went inside. And then I followed him in. And he stumbled up to the counter, and Michael's behind the counter, and Redcap says, half pint Cossack. And I'm behind him, and I'm kind of giving Michael the eye. Like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But Michael didn't get it, and he turned around, he gets the half pint Cossack, and he puts it in the bag, and he puts it on the counter, and Redcap puts down his $2, and his dime and his nickel, his $2.15. He had the exact change all the time, every time when he came. Right. So Michael says, Happy New Year. And Redcap says, mine never this is just and Michael says, all right. So off he goes, and he bumps into the door on the way out, and poof, he's gone. I say, Michael, that dude is squiffy. And he laughed and says, Squiffy? I said, yeah, it's 1930 speak for drunk. Yeah, that dude was pretty well inebriated. I don't think if he comes in again, you should sell to him again. Mike said, I was thinking about that. He did look a little bit. I said, he did look a little bit. Yeah. So next time I wouldn't do it. If he can make it in here at all again, don't sell to him. Phone rang, and it was another order for me, a delivery over to Agatha and Felix, this regular couple, and they never ordered the same thing twice. They would order rum this time, and then vodka this time, and then wine this time, and then scotch this time. They must have gotten married in 1816. They were somebody's fun grandparents. They always had big band music playing loud in the other room when I showed up, and they always left a really nice tip. They were fantastic people, Agatha and Felix. And I was back to the shop in no time because they weren't that far away either. And we're waiting around for the next one. I walk in the store, and True by Spandau Ballet is playing. Remember that? Yes. And in truth, reality for that matter, relative. Anyhow, um, so then we wait, and another phone call comes in, and it's to one of my favorite regular customers, the Bernardinis, that very cute couple, Sherry and Jerry, the rhyming couple, and they got their little dog Brandy, a little white dog. I think it's a kick me. And they always leave me a really nice tip, and they're very sweet with their New York dialects. And Sherry said, we wish you a happy and a healthy and a prosperous new year, Harry. And I said, you guys are my favorite customers to come deliver to. Thank you for being so kind to me all the time. And you have a happy new year, too. And they gave me a really nice tip, another $5 tip. What the hell? That's great. Hey, that's good money, especially in 1983, while it lasts. Yes. So I go back to the shop, and now it's getting late, and a couple more customers come in, but there's nobody else calling me up. I think I've had my last delivery. That was to the Bernardinis. I know. And we're waiting around. A couple of customers come in, a mom type lady came in, a couple of goofy 20 somethings came in, and the phone rings. And this is going to be my last delivery for 1983. And it is for a case of Tokay, a case of white Hungarian sweet wine. And that's just around the corner up here on 83rd Street. Just around the corner and 4 or 5 houses up is this address for this delivery. So Michael gave me some change. This thing is like $56 even with tax for a case of Tokay. And I say, I'm just going to carry this instead of using the hand cart because I've been carrying a lot of cases around. I'm getting pretty good at it. And it's not that far. So I'm going to rather than try and negotiate the hand cart, forget it. So I pick up the case. I say, back in a flash, and I step outside. I'm walking down the street. And who do you see on the corner on the cement, dead or passed out or always shuffling around? It's Redcap. No, for a split second, I thought the guy might be dead, but no, 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 no. He's shuffling around. And he's trying not to have his head fall on the concrete. And I said, "Hey!" And he looks up at me. He says, "Whoa!" And he swings at me, And I go, "Hey!" I go, "You better get up." And he goes, "Whoa!" And he tries and kick at me. I said, "You know what? Fuck this shit. I'm trying to help the guy out. You know what I mean? And this case of wine isn't getting any lighter." So off I go. He says, "Wow!" As I'm walking away. Yikes. Well, I walk 3 or 4 houses up, and there's this big party going on. You can tell from the front room. There's a front window. There's a lot of people in there. Porch lights on. I go on up, ring the bell, and this guy, this big barrel-chested guy with a lot of wild white hair and facial white hair all over the place, comes and answers the door. And he's really friendly, and he's really in a good mood. He's got these great big glasses, and he's very friendly. And I go, "Vino Veritas." He said, "Thank heavens you're here." And he picks up this case of wine like it's a styrofoam ornament. Yoop! And he puts it on the table inside the door, and he fumbles through his pocket. He takes out a $50 bill, and he hands it to me. He goes, There you go. Keep the change. And I said, it's $56. It's more than. He said, oh. And he looked through his pocket, he pulled out, and he gave me a $10 bill. And I'm like, he says, now you can keep the change. And I go, that's not a bad tip. $4. And so anyhow, I thank you, and he thanked me, and off we go. And as I walk back to the corner, Redcap is not there anymore. Yeah, he roused himself and got away, or I think so. And I look up and down the street, and I look down the other streets. He's not falling down anywhere else, at least that I can see him. Okay, then. I said, well, here, I'm not crazy about the guy, but I don't want anything bad to happen to him. Right? All right. So I go into the store, and it's getting to be closing time on New Year's Eve. I know. And so Steve and Gregory have been back in the office all night long chatting while Michael's been holding the store down, and I've been coming back and forth. So they come on out and they say, well, time to close up. And so that's what we do. We start shutting down everything, and Steve shuts and locks the door. And what do you think happens at 4 minutes after closing, at 4 minutes after 10? Yeah, of course. A couple of people come up. It's 3 20-somethings. It's a couple of cute girls and their tall, goofy-looking boyfriend. Great. And Gregory says, nope, sorry, we're closed. And Steve's standing there, and there are a couple of cute girls. And so Steven says, let's let them in. Gregory says, really? And Steve says, we could either make or break their night right here and right now. Let's let them in. And Gregory says, all right. So Stephen unlocks the door, and they come. Hooray! They cheer. And so they're they're running around like rats in a maze. They don't know what to do. And they go, did you have chilled champagne? And Gregory says, in the back. So they see the cooler, and they run back there. And they get a couple of bottles of champagne. They get this Freixenet in a black silk smooth bottle, and Dom Perignon, which is remarkably affordable these days at like $14 a bottle. Fantastic, right? In 1983, yes. So they come up and they say, "Oh, we should probably get some rum and some vodka." So they got a pint of rum and a pint of vodka, and they bought all their stuff. And Michael bags it up, and off they go. Poof, they were gone. And I say, "Can we get out of here now?" And Steven says, "Yes, turn everything off, the lights out. We got to get out." And so we step out, lock the door, turn off all the lights, and the gate's coming down. Jugga, 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 jugga. All right, now last time I was here, waiting to shake these guys' hands, they didn't meet my eyes. And so I got a little trick I'm going to play on him this time. And I go up to Steve and I go, "Happy, happy New Year! Put her there!" And I go right in his face. And so he meets eyes. I take his hand and we shake. I go over to Michael, same thing. "Look at this," I say. "Happy, happy New Year! Put her there!" And then we shake hands. Same thing with Gregory. "Happy, happy New Year! Put her there." And it worked. It felt like a trick you'd play on a dog to make him meet your eyes, but here's the thing, dogs automatically and cats automatically meet your eyes, don't they? Anyhow, so I'm going, "Gentlemen, shall we go up to the bus stop and have a little year-end capper?" And my Gregory says, "Michael and I are going uptown. We got to go." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And Steven says, "I got to go downtown. I got to go." And so he goes out and he steps right out in the street and hails a cab. It was like magic. In 10, 12, 30 seconds, a cab comes up, and he was gone, poof. So Michael and Gregory and I are walking up the street, and we get over to 86th, and they say, they're going to cut out. And they see a cab, they hail that, and off they go. And so I walk over to the bus stop there in the middle of the block, and I say, I'm going to have a drink. I still got time. And I go in there. And there's Terry, our super friendly bartender. And he's like, "Harry, hey there. Happy New Year to you." And I say, "Happy New Year to you." And he says, "What do you have, Harry? The usual?" And I go, "Oh, thank you for that. I just love hearing you say that. And yes, I'll have the usual," which of course was a shot of Old Bushmills and a bottle of Rolling Rock beer. Fantastic. I love that guy. And so I said, "Terry, can I buy you a drink?" He says, "I'm going to have to take a rain check on that one, Harry, because everybody's trying to buy me a drink tonight, and I got to be able to focus. I said, gotcha. So he put down my drink, bam, the shot, and bam, the beer, and I take the shot, boom, and then I take and I sip the beer, and I said, that bus is going to show up as soon as I put this thing to my lips. Well, it didn't ever come. And I drank, and I had a leisurely beer, and it was pretty good. And I said, all right, here we go. And Perry said, sure you don't want another one? I said, I should get going. He says, all right, you have a safe New Year's, buddy. And I said, and safe New Year to you. And we shook hands. He met my eyes. What a guy. So I'm walking out, and I said, I don't think I am going to wait for the bus. I'm just going to take a cab. And I go, oh, yeah, that sounds like a fabulous idea. If one shows up. Now it's later. Now it's after 11 on New Year's Eve. Good luck on finding a cab. So I'm waiting around, and neither a bus nor a cab comes. And I said, well, I'm going to start to walk home. Because at this rate, you know what I mean? It's really, it's probably a half-hour walk, but I've already wasted almost a half hour waiting for a truck. I'm waiting for the bus or a cab. And eventually, oh, thank heavens, a cab shows up. And I get in, and I say, 94th and Broadway. I love saying 94th and Broadway. It's so New Yorky. And then you go into another dimension when you are in a cab ride. And you have to hang on for your dear life because you are a prisoner of inertia as you are shuffled back and forth in the seat as he's going around these Central Park. The street that cuts through Central Park is not a straight road. It cuts and weaves and wanders through Central Park, and you are hanging. But I'm looking out the window the whole time because the view is just fantastic. It's dark, and you can see trees and stuff. You can see some lanterns sprinkled in the background. It's just such a beautiful view. And you don't get to be in the middle of Central Park in the middle of the night that often. I know. So we get over to the west side, and we get over to Broadway and up to 94th. He lets me out. I pay him. I leave him a tip, and I run up the stairs, and I go, I got to get ready for the party because I'm going to a party over at Pamela's up at 98th and Broadway. She's a friend of ours, and a friend of a friend, and so she's got other mutual friends who are going to be there, some Detroiters and artistic types and actors and musicians. It's going to be a lovely party. So I go up and I start to get cleaned up and everything. And I go over and I hit the pipe a couple times, and I'm getting ready to go. And I look for and I find it. I wanted to wear a particularly festive tie that I had. And so then I look at the clock, and it's like 1:45. It's not even 1:45. It's like 10:02 or something crazy like that. I go, where did the time so I'm like, I'm afraid that I'm not going to make it. What if I'm just crossing the street, some lonely straggling street crossing person instead of being at the party? I said, forget it. I ain't going. I mean, until after midnight. I'm going to save this midnight and celebrate it. That means I got to do it on my own. I got to do it alone. I've never had an alone New Year's midnight. This is a huge responsibility. I go, okay, well, we can do it. Is there anything to drink in the house? Yes. There's champagne. No, there's not. Yes, there's beer. No, there's not. Yes, what is there? There's some Johnny Walker Red. Okay, sure, we'll have some scotch. And I pour a inch and a half of that into a little highball glass, and I get my opera pipe and I load that up and I climb up into my huge bunk bed up there, and I'm up on top. And I before I go up there, I put on the music. I put on Time Steps from Clockwork Orange by Wendy Carlos. Yes. And I put it on it's just, and I look at and I've got the clock, and it's about 45 seconds to midnight. And I put the thing on and I climb up in the bed, and the music is playing, and I've got my little glass of Johnny Walker, and I got my opera pipe. And then when the music gets to my favorite part, it turns midnight, and I say, hello, 1984. And I drink the scotch, and then I put that down on my bed there, and then I light the opera pipe, and we have a little celebration there for a moment. Well, it's 1984 itself. I go, all right. So then I climb down. I I finish my little glass of scotch, and then I go outside. I go on up, and I run up the street to the party. I get there at about 10 after. And it's a celebration, and some people didn't even know that I wasn't there at midnight because there were so many people. Not everybody saw everybody. Oh, 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 oh. So it was. It was a lovely party, and there were a bunch of Detroiters there, and Rich, my birthday guy, was there. I didn't know he was my birthday guy yet. That comes later. But and Lily was there, and there was a bunch of other actors and stuff that I don't know. It was a fantastic party, and I got lots of hugs and smooches, even though I didn't get there for the midnight itself, and I was worried. Well, it was a fantastic party, and I got home, and nobody was cut or bruised or bleeding or anything like that, namely me, which is the biggest worry about a New Year's party, and nothing bad happened. So I get home, and I have one more little hit on my delicious opera pipe before I settle down for the first time asleep in 1984. All right. So now I'll have to tell you what happens now later. All right. Please like it. Please comment. Please comment on it. Please share it. Please share it. And then please subscribe. Happy New Year. Well, I'll see you next time.